Hi everyone, back to back here. This opportunity here to be together again. Thank you for all the work that all these holy organizations and holy women behind these organizations are putting us together to really reach new heights. And this week's Parsha Bo, is exactly about being able to escape to emotional freedom. The whole experience of Yitzias Mitzrayim actually is a template for our daily remembrance of how to escape from our own Meitzarim, from our own constrictions. Interesting, it says in the book of Orchard of Delights that, the farthest distance in the world is between our brain and our heart. So many people know things, and yet it's so hard for them to really let go and like really implement their knowledge. And definitely we, the people, have been also considered a stick neck people, because the neck actually is such a narrow bridge between what's in our heart to what's in our mind to like really land in our heart. Because the teaching is that we need to be able to escape from our mind and like take the knowledge, run with it, and have this godly light land in our heart, the godly wisdom, the godly emanations that are coming to us through the process of our praying and working on humbling ourselves and working on getting this knowledge, to our heart, which actually is likened to an open heart surgery. Like the whole point of knowledge is to open our heart up. The whole point of like prayer and humbleness is to open our heart up so that the light of God's wisdom can enter. So if you look at the story of Parsha Bo and what's happening, the Lubavitcher Rebbe teaches us that the striking down of the firstborn son is likened to striking down our Egyptian mentality, our first intellect, which is negative, which actually science does show our mind just is created in a way that it's very easy for it to always think negative. And the redemption of the firstborn son is a metaphor, as it were, to redeem our godly intellect. But once the godly intellect is redeemed, we have to escape the territory of the mind, as it were, run with the information, not let it just linger in our head, but let it linger on and on and on, and spill over into our heart. Because as the Tanya teaches us, that the right part of our heart is full of passion and godly emotion. Once the knowledge that we have attained gets spilled over because we meditated and contemplated and we deeply concentrated in our prayers about it, and it gave us a better prayer experience because we have knowledge in our head about the greatness of Hashem, then that actually creates a heart full of love, a heart full of awe of God, a heart full of all these positive emotions that are in the DNA of our soul, in the DNA of what's in our heart. Once that happens, and the more we do that, then, as Alter Rebbe teaches us, the emotion spills over to the left part of our heart, because we have two chambers in our heart, as even science does teach us, that the left part of our heart is where there's more blood. And that symbolizes the passion of of negativity, the anger, the sadness, the anxiety. So we need this amazing, like incredible birthing from escaping our mind to activate these amazing, like birthing of a positive emotions. And then that part of our heart is so filled that it spills over into the left part of our heart. And so we see that there's just a very narrow, like bridge, as it were, from our brain to our heart. And it's not a simple matter to get knowledge into our heart. And the way by which we can get that knowledge into our heart is to break it down into like mini bites. These days everyone's saying like, I can't handle an hour shiur, like I need like something short, quick. We're in a generation where we just want that quick microwavable food. So in essence, our animal soul also can't handle too much heavy duty godly information. It just doesn't relate to it. So by meditating on godly concepts in prayer or during learning Torah, it helps break down the information into user-friendly information so that it could more smoothly, as it were, go from the head to the heart. And the heart is where mainly on the left side of the heart is where mainly the animal soul resides. So it finally, through rationalization and through persuasion, understands the concepts, and then like it ignites a will and a desire on its own to follow the instruction or that knowledge, so that it'll understand on its own terms this information, that we are learning in Torah. And that's why the Rebbe Rashab in Kuntrus HaTefillah says that if you just learn Torah and you don't really meditate with that information in prayer, then the effect of the knowledge doesn't actually have its impact. We know people, they know so much, they could speak so perfectly in every which way. But then what happens is they actually can't implement it, because again, the animal soul cannot relate to this holy Torah. It's impossible to affect the animal soul. And the only real way is by this Yitzias Mitzrayim, by getting out of the head, breaking down the knowledge through meditation and contemplation, and through that process, these smaller bites, as it were, more user-friendly information of the Torah can like slowly but surely get to the both parts of one's heart until it finally lands in the dominant dominion and residence of the animal soul in the heart, to have this effect on the animal soul. So, the Rebbe in Parsha Bo also explains that as hard as it is to get information from your brain, like through your throat, as it were, and into the heart. I mean, look at the physical makeup of this big brain, and then like this narrow throat, and then the heart. So you see, physically, it represents the difficulty. And the Rebbe actually explains that not only does the meditation on the knowledge help, the information land into your heart, but he also says it's very helpful not to clog the system so that the transmission won't be blocked. And the Rebbe actually says that too much indulgence in the material world kind of blocks and impedes the flow. Just like if you have a stuffed up, plumbing situation, and the water can't flow because the pipes are like clogged. Just like, the arteries of the body, the blood has to flow. And if there's plaque on the arteries, then the constriction of the blood flow happens, God forbid. So too much indulgence in the material stuff ourselves up so that the flow of wisdom can't make its way and escape from the head and onto the heart. And it's a fine line where, where we can make that tshuva, where we can make that analysis of how much investment that we daily put into our physical life that is overindulgent, So it's very interesting when the Rebbe was actually talking about the experience of Yitzias Mitzrayim and the reason why every day we say the Shema and we recall our Yitzias Mitzrayim. The Rebbe questions how many times like someone does you a favor, how many times you keep having to say, wow, I thank you, I remember you saved me, oh my gosh, eventually, they get the point, and so why do we have to say it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times a day? And this whole remembrance of getting out of Mitzrayim. Well, because every day we have to have this escape. Every day we have to get out of our head and into our heart. Every day we have to redeem our firstborn son. And every day we have to redeem these holy qualities so that we have a new Yitzias Mitzrayim. Because what was yesterday was good for yesterday. As tonight is Rosh Chodesh, Chadash. Chodesh from the word Chadash, because the new is renewing itself. So, and literally every day anew, we can have a new Yitzias Mitzrayim today. And what is that? Let me explain. When you have a little toddler and it's having its growth spurt, and all of a sudden you see that the clothes of this child doesn't fit anymore. Trust me, now with my grandson, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is getting really tight. We need the new level of clothing, the new, age range, because this is not working out here. So you see that there's a growth spurt and they just don't fit anymore. So too, every day, we have spiritual growth spurts, and yesterday's clothing of our soul, meaning the garments of our soul, which is our thoughts, our speech, and our actions, help us reach new heights, helps our soul really become elevated and a new and higher order soul. We learn that, every day's prayer brings about a new moichin, a new level of intellectual wherewithal that we didn't have the day before. So our soul, according to the deeds that we do that day, infinitely raises our soul. So the next day, when we're saying the Shema and we're focusing on the Yitzias Mitzrayim section of the Shema, we end up seeing a reminder, as it were, reminding us yesterday our garments were perfect for yesterday, and today our soul is a higher soul, is an elevated soul. So what I accomplished and what I succeeded yesterday was great for yesterday, but now I have to have a new redemption, a new norm, as it were, and not to settle, and not to ride the wave of or better example is, when you're driving a car and you're on cruise control, it just goes a certain, a certain speed and you're not doing anything. You're just we can't just not do anything. We have to daily get out of our Mitzrayim anew. And not only if we don't do the work, it ends up backsliding a person, because if your car is going uphill and you just stop and you're not continuously moving it forward, then it actually starts going downhill. So we're commanded not to stop. We're commanded to have a progression and to have the new garments of today's, soul power opportunities. And that's why, the Rebbe said we say Shema every day. And he explains that, for that reason, it is very important when saying the Shema to have this in mind, because it's so easy to just like pat yourself on the back and like, oh my gosh, you used to be so angry and now you're not, or you used to be like so anxious and now you're so much calmer, and you think like yagati umatzati, I have arrived, and then just you think it's here on in you're done. But as infinite as God is, right, we can infinitely raise ourselves up. And there's incredible secrets actually to the Shema to help us every day remind ourselves how to escape to this emotional freedom. So the first step is Shema. Really hear that God is here for you. And the more you meditate on the oneness of Hashem, right? Because when you look at the last part of the sentence of Shema, you're supposed to halachically prolong the Daled, the last letter of the word Va'ed. Echad. Echad. So the Daled of the last word of the first sentence of the Shema, you're supposed to prolong the pronunciation of Dalet. Well, comes the deep teachings of the Torah, says prolong your meditation on God, close your eyes and cover your eyes, like do two things to like null the world. Don't think about what you have to do. Just really try to zone in and focus that there's only one God. And when you do that, first of all, by the way, it has an impact on the animal soul, because the animal soul, again, now is forced with your rational thinking to realize that there's only one God that will give blessings of health and prosperity and everything of your heart's desire, your animal's heart's desire. And it'll just have this instant awakening of like, oh my gosh, there's only one God? Wow, like I better shape up because I want all these blessings. So again, by persuasion, by meditating on the oneness of Hashem, it has this superpower to align your godly soul's heart with the animal soul's heart in unity. And that's why it says, Bechol Avacha, with two hearts. Because otherwise it would say Bechol Levcha, meaning one heart. Levavcha is two hearts, teaching us the more we contemplate on Hashem's greatness as He is beyond the world and as He is within the world, because the next sentence is Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, right? So the Malchut, God's kingship, we're taught to like stop there and meditate on God's greatness in the world. And the Shema part is thinking about Hashem as He is beyond the worlds, His angels, His heavens above, and how He orchestrates everything from His chambers up in Shamayim. Then, because of these meditations, because we focus our mind on this, then we can escape the mind and Bechol Avavcha. And then we can get to our heart, to a point where both hearts will work in unison. And after that, you'll understand why it says ve'ahavta. Because it's not that God is commanding you to do such a feat of accomplishment to love God, but it's ve'ahavta. Because you meditated on Hashem, who's beyond the world and within the worlds, then, because you did that, the byproduct will be the escape of the mental constriction to the freedom, the emotional freedom of accessing all these amazing holy emotions from both sides of your heart. And that's why then it says in that same paragraph, V'dibarta bam. Because now, after you've studied Torah, right after, then you'll see that just like if you see in the Shema, it says V'adamati ten yibulam. You are like a ground. You are like a field. And now, since these seeds of wisdom have been able to be planted in your heart, the blossoming will take place. So as we're proceeding through the Shema, we're seeing all the secrets of what's going to happen when we escape our brain. Take the knowledge and then run with it to the heart that's going to finally give us the freedom to feel all these amazing godly emotions. And then as you see, again, the Yitzias Mitzrayim part in the third paragraph of the Shema, because what was good yesterday, don't forget, you have to have today a new level of redemption. You have a new level of escaping your mind and going to your heart. Because the mind is limited. The animal soul is unlimited. The mind is where it can get a little tricky. If you don't conquer this redemption of your mind from the non-holy intellect, then your intellect can be used as a weapon against yourself, and we know that. That's where depression and anxiety and all these kinds of low self-esteem and all kinds of, destructive alien thoughts come barging in and never leave you. That's why we have to do this redemptive feat every day anew. So after you see that, then you'll see the word emet. Then you will have a true you. Then you'll have an experience of the free you, to be compassionate, to be loving, to be able to enjoy life, even with its twists and turns, knowing, as one of the teachings is, that we are day workers. And day workers is us as a stiff-necked people, that we're stubborn and we're going to fight through the day, and we're going to bring light into the dark moments and the dark situations. We're stiff-necked people. We don't give up. We know God is with us. As we just learned that Hashem said in this Parsha, Bo el Paro, I'm with you and I'm going to help you accomplish this feat. I'm going to help you have your redemption. You're not alone. As I always say, you just got to show up. Show up in your siddur. Show up in your mind a bit, not just, spitting out words. Show up in your heart a bit more by trying to even fake it till you make it, by singing and dancing as if you're so happy to do this spiritual practice. And eventually it'll become really, your second nature, which is really the true you, as the Alter Rebbe always says. So doing this actually helps us be that day worker and bring light into the situations, so that we interact with the day with the best of us and not be enslaved by the mind that can constrict the way we see a situation. And even as it seems so black, our heart can turn on the light. And it's interesting, as I was reading in the Pirkei Avot, one of my favorite Pirkei Avot is about really the power of learning Torah after davening. Because remember, prayer opens your heart up, and right after you have to speak the words of the Torah that you learn, and then this light can illuminate your heart, both hearts. So it says here that great is Torah, for it gives life to those who practice it in this world and the world to come, as it says. For they, meaning the teachings of the Torah, are like life to one who finds them, and a healing to all his flesh. It further says, it shall be a remedy to your body and a marrow to your bones. It further says, it is a tree of life for those who hold fast to it, and fortunate are those who support it. It further says, they are a garland of grace for your head and a necklace for your neck. It further says, it will give to your head a garland of grace and a crown of glory it will bestow upon you. It further says, indeed, through me, the Torah, your days shall be increased. Your years of life shall be added to you. And it further says, length of days is at its right, riches and honor at its left. And it further says, length of days, years of life, and peace shall be added to you. Now again, look at all these blessings, healing blessings, mind, body, and soul. So I want to go into the details of it. It says here, the flesh is actually your physical body. It has a power to really bring internal aspects of one's physical life, even to the bones of your body. I remember studying that when you learn Torah, you end up not needing to eat as much because it really physically does nourish your body. Now again, if the heart isn't open, and if you're not using your mind to really meditate and not speak the words of Torah, there is a power in speaking the words that draw this light down. If you're not speaking the words of Torah, then it doesn't have its effect to enter your heart and enter your physical body. A tree of life, it actually is a symbolism of this physical life. Like a tree who's strong and physically capable of not being blown by the wind, not being blown by a new variant or a new whatever it's around the corner of our life. A garland of grace for your head means that the spiritual life that you want, like the redemption of your soul powers, your intellectual capacity, is having its effect from learning Torah. Now it says the crown of glory. And this speaks about a more transcendent level of spiritual life. Because a crown actually sits on your head. It's above your head. Meaning you can go into that super above rational existence and live your life in a way that can not limit you by your limited mindsets. You can have more emunah and you can have more trust in Hashem. You can go beyond the four corners of this world or what your eyes are seeing and jump into something beyond what your mind can even wrap around. This is what Torah gives you, this crown. And then it says that your length of days will be increased, and this is longevity. Not only will all the Torah that you learn today give you long life, because it says years of life, and that means you'll have more days on the face of this earth, but the length of days means that your, the Torah you learn today, as Tanya teaches us, is not only nourishment for your mind, body, and soul in this life, but you're going to be resurrected with the dew of your Torah, and it's going to recreate the possibility of you having the strength to be able to experience the godly revelation when Mashiach comes. Those of us who studied more will be able to more incorporate God's light and be able to withstand the heat of his intense godly energy. Kind of like garments, right? Garments protect you. If you go out in the snow with barely, a t-shirt on and flip-flops, you won't be able to withstand the coldness. So you won't be able to go, skiing or whatever, what have you. So these garments of the Torah that we learn, one helps us in this lifetime experience the radiance of Hashem in a very healthy and grounded way, but also in Latid Lavo. And just like Torah is likened to bread, that it nourishes our soul in this lifetime, it'll give us the sustainable nourishment we need to forever exist. So it's not just in this lifetime. I mean, we know, and even just in the last Parsha that where the blessing that was given to by Yaakov to his son, which is a blessing for all time, that we should have, eyes, blood shed from wine, and teeth white, from milk. It was a very interesting blessing, but it was teaching us that the more you learn Torah, the more love of Hashem. Like, when your two birds are gazing at each other, and their eyes become bloodshot, like red, like as if they're drinking wine. Because the love of Hashem grows as you more and more learn Torah. But also, like wine, secrets come out. So the secrets of all your godly emotions become freed up from learning Torah. And then it also whitens you like milk, meaning Torah actually shines its light inward to your brain, into your right part of your heart, into the left part of your heart, and shines its light, so the darkness of everything that seemingly seems so real in you, which is actually not you, becomes like whitened. Because we know where there's darkness, there's no existence to darkness. It's just an absence of light. So learning Torah actually brings in this light, like whiteness of milk, like milk, into your whole being. So there's so much that we need to do in a day. But if we don't start this from the beginning of our day, to redeem our godly powers and to realign the animal soul to the truth of its existence, and to, with persuasion, like wake itself up, so to free up the limited mindsets and to redeem and be able to like really escape from that imprisonment of that constricted mindset, and to use that stubborn stiff-neckedness of yours to not let a day go by where you don't start your day with the foundation of prayer and meditation and learning and speaking your words of Torah after. Then you won't be enslaved as much that day. You'll be that much freer that day. So I want to bless you in this week's Parsha, when you read these things, that you have in mind, this is the secret to your redemption. This is your escape to the freedom of all of your holy emotions. May you be blessed. May you continue to use that stubbornness in a good way. And may you never give up, and may you constantly be aware of like outgrowth of your old garments, and don on the new ones, and really experience that real gratitude that you have another day to reach new heights. And I'm sending you my love, and sending you my heart and soul's prayer for you to believe in yourself, because God believes in you and He's there with you, helping you every step of the way. You just got to show up just a little. I know it's hard sometimes, but Baruch Hashem, at least in this day and age, we have access to such deepest teachings of the truth, and we're getting there. Blessings. Thank you for joining.